All right, so I'm here in Eugene, Oregon with Heather Hamilton, who is, correct me if I'm wrong, on the delayed entry program for special ops in the Air Force.
Yep, that's correct.
And you're going in to attempt to be a PJ.
PJ.
And you have a test, your PST is coming up in January.
No, I have to do a pass every month.
Okay.
But the hope is that I'll ship out in January.
Okay. All right. Very cool. So what I want to do now is just sort of tell all the folks out there why sprinting, right? Why you sought out a coach and all that good stuff. Just pull back the curtain a little bit for us.
Well, so I come from a long distance running background, marathon training, half marathons, trail running, that sort of thing. And what I found is the type of training that I was used to doing was not pertinent to what the military wanted. So one of the standards of my test is running a 1.5 and a 9:47. I could not manage that. I did my own training for 4 or 5 months, switching up my running style and that sort of thing, not getting any faster, knowing that there's something mechanically wrong that I'm not doing correctly to actually increase my speed in a shorter time frame. But I also knew that I had the capacity to increase my speed in a shorter time frame. Some people say, oh, it's going to take you a year to drop a minute off your time or whatever. And I'm like, that's not true. It's just I need to do something different. I couldn't figure out what to do. I talked to other coaches in the area and that sort of thing, and it just wasn't getting anywhere. I was stagnant. And with the delayed entry program, I mean, you're on a time limit. The clock is ticking. So once you get in, it's ticking. You have to continue to improve, and you have to continue to improve in a certain amount of time, or you are going to be stuck in a job you might not want. You're not going to get to do special operations. You might be put at a desk job or, something else that you didn't want to do. So anyway, I've always followed Jeff, super nice guy. He liked you. So I'm like, well, if Jeff likes you, you got to be cool. So I started following you, and just some of the stuff you had was pretty good. I actually printed off your little running booklet you made.
3 Pieces of Speed?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And then I'm like, wow, this is good stuff, but it's not enough. And so that's actually when I contacted you, and I decided to work with you.
So you kind of had the same, almost in like a parallel universe, if I may. Because you said to me verbatim when we were Skyping that you needed to immerse yourself.
Yes.
And I having come to that realization myself almost 2 years ago as a coach, you came to that realization as an athlete and said, like, hey, like, remotely isn't going to get it done, right? Reading a book isn't going to get it done. I've got to literally be, right? I mean, Jeff, you just mentioned Jeff. Jeff, he's infamous for saying, Tiger Woods doesn't take putting lessons over Instagram.
No.
Right? So you sought out a coach, right? And you chose to go all in on sprinting. And what have you gotten out of this the past 5 days?
When I look through my film, I'm a different person, and it's amazing how much I've transformed in 5 days. I went out and I played soccer last night, and I just could even see how fast all of my reflexes were. Like, it just translated into everything else that I was doing. Just how much work that I was able to complete in 5 days and transform is amazing. And I've been at this for months, years actually, if you look at it, from that standpoint. And I've done so much more in 5 days than I've been able to do on my own in several months. Now, I look at this like learning a new language. So I studied Arabic, and I studied it here in the, in the U.S. and, in Oregon and stuff. And, I went through it for 2 years and whatnot, but I wasn't really getting it down. And so when you go and you immerse yourself in a new language, and you go to that other culture, that other country, guess what? You're going to get 2 years of language in like 3 months. Boom. You can get fluent. And that's what happened with me. And I look at sprinting the same way. And so I feel like immersing myself in the sprinting this week gained a lot of fluency for me that I wouldn't have done just doing my own self-study.
So it's when you go and immerse yourself in a different country, when the language barrier it's very much so a sink or swim sort of thing here. Yeah. Would you say this was sort of a I've coined the term sprint or die?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
It was like sink or swim. Yeah, definitely.
So why the running piece though? Like, right? I mean, because whether it's Jeff and myself, right, working with young men and women, it seems to always be the number one concern, right? Is that 1.5 mile run.
Yep.
Right. Not to discount or overlook the swimming and the push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and all that good stuff, but why did you feel the run was so important to get done?
It translates to everything else.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so like the swim, right? It's a sprint swim. It's 500 meters in under 10 minutes. You're sprinting that. So doing sprint work out on the track and out on the field, that's dry land training. That's going to translate to the swim. You know, even push-ups and you know, sit-ups and everything translates. You know, you got to be quick. You got to have those quick reflexes. If you're really slow at that, you're not going to get your numbers in that 2-minute time frame. You know, so it translates into everything else.
So that's the why behind the sprinting and its importance. And so, right, like if we could give the viewers just a quick glimpse as to like how we did that, right? I can talk a little bit about it, right? It's just, you know, I think Brett Bartholomew talked about doing the basics savagely well, right? And there was
there's truth to that.
And there was even some. Correct me if I'm wrong. There was even some frustration going back and forth. It was as far as how little input I was giving you, right? Because I wanted the drills to do the talking and you do the walking rather than me just cue you to death, right?
Right.
But I mean, did you have anything to add as far as the how goes? How we got you to transform a little bit?
Well, what was great is that you could read and understand that I'm a pretty analytical person already. And so you laying off the cueing, like you gave me one cue that worked for me the entire week. So every time I thought about that cue, boom, I managed to do exactly what I needed to do. It just dialed in my brain and just dialed me in. And if you had cued me too much or given me, you know, it'd be too much information overload. I'm already developing, you know, my neural firing and stuff like that. If I had gotten too much cueing, I would have been all over the place.
And which cue was that?
Be at peace.
Peace, right?
Be at peace.
Yep, yep, don't force it.
Nope.
Let it happen. Be powerful.
Be powerful. Yep. I'm never going to forget that.
Yeah, we want to be powerful, not feel powerful, right?
And it's funny because it's like every time, you know, I'd go out and do a sprint, I would know, oh man, I was trying to be powerful here. Okay. You know, so I had that in my head what I've learned through you actually is simplicity is the key. So that what I realized with my own training programs and what I was doing was kind of pulling from different people of like, you know, cherry picking, well, that should work here and plugging that in, is that it is creating a complex training system actually makes me a worse athlete.
Creates confusion, right?
It creates confusion.
Yeah.
So I think complexity is the author of confusion, really. You know, so what I learned is just being simple works. And I didn't trust that at first because you came here, you know, we did some stuff. I'm like, really? Is that it? And then the next day I was like just so foggy and I was tired and I needed a nap and I'm like, this is super weird. Like I felt like we didn't do a lot, but we did, you know. And so just keeping it, you know, keeping front sight focused, very simple is just the key.
So wrapping this up now, so we talked about the why, we talked about the how, and the what is, you know, really taking that next step and immersing yourself, just letting everybody out there know that, hey, if you want to get better at this stuff, right, we all have coaches, we all need coaches, right? You need to get in person, right, if you're gonna really see strides. I'll post the videos later today, if not tomorrow. I'll be bragging about Heather for a long time now as far as her transformation over these 5 days. But what we've done through this immersion is we've really laid the groundwork to now where we can work remotely, and you know what I'm talking about here, right? So we can continue to make progress towards January when you ship out and continue to crush the PSTs up until that point.
No, the foundation's there. I mean, like I said, if I didn't meet you in person, I would still be spinning my wheels and, excuse my language, fucking my stuff up. That's what I continue to do. So he's the buoy. He's my life source, honestly. You know, so yes, the remote work can happen because I've worked with coaches remotely before. And, you know, when you're doing it completely remotely, let's be honest, like who is actually communicating 100% effectively well? Nobody. But we spent an entire week together, so he can read my eyes. Like he knows, he'd like, tell me the truth. How did you really feel? How did it go? You know, that sort of thing. So.
Well, thanks a lot, Heather, for sharing your thoughts, and can't wait to continue to watch you progress and move forward and meet your goals.
I'm excited.
Thanks.